As a Shopify store owner, you most likely have an email pop-up. And if you have an email pop-up, it most likely has one of these 3 mistakes in it. Email pop-ups tend to be one of those things that go under the radar when it comes to store owners optimizing this. I think that's partly because you see it once, and then as a store owner, you don't see that continuously on and on. However, for the visitor, almost every single visitor will at some point see the email pop. So it's a massively important element in your store, and it's especially important when it comes to converting those first-time visitors. So in this video, we're going to go over the 3 areas that you can optimize with your email pop-ups. And if you haven't yet get to know me, I'm Samuel Larsen, I'm the founder of growgurus.com. We help 6- and 7-figure e-commerce stores get the most out of their existing traffic by conversion and average order value optimization. Now, let's look into a general principle of communication in general. You have this loop where you have the sender and you have a receiver on the other end. And in between these things, you have the message that is then interpreted, and you have the feedback loop back to the sender. So when you are optimizing your email pops, you can see things like how many people subscribed to the offer. However, what you don't see is all the frustration, all the qualitative parts of these email pop reactions and these kinds of things. So there you can assume that you are operating on a little bit of a blinder situation here. Like you can only see what you can see. And often one metric is not good enough to judge your success. So let's dive into this one. So first you have when does your email pop-up show up? So number 1 is the trigger. So most stores make this terrible mistake. When you load the store with incognito, you get the email pop-up very, very quickly, if not instantly. So there, imagine just going to a store and you just don't even know what it's about yet. Just get hey, 10% off. That's pretty weird behavior. If that happened in a retail store, the store merchant comes to meet you hey, I know you don't know anything about the store yet, but here's 10% off. That's okay, what? And you have to give something in exchange for it. So that's a little bit too much too soon. So with a more intelligent triggering, we'll be able to have meet the visitor in a point where they are ready for that exchange. So if it's a 10% off, for example, they will already have a product in mind where they could use it. If they don't, probably are not going to convert that visitor anyway. So here, this is important because people otherwise will not and cannot know what exactly you sell yet at what price. Here, a recommendation for this is to use a combination of scroll depth and time on page. Why use a combination? Because if you only use a time on page, you might have a person who just opens it up in a tab and then goes and searches a bunch of other things, like other tabs, other sites, etc. So once they come back to the tab, they see 10% off, but they don't know anything about it. If you only use scroll depth, you might have this a very, very quick scroller on a page that's just looking for some information. Okay, what are the dimensions of the product? And then 10% off. So you have this balance here. And you can also think of this as almost like a discount ladder. So you are not giving up margin for those people who don't need it. So if somebody is buying it in just 5 seconds, okay, matches the price, I want this then you are not losing margin unnecessarily on that one. So very important. Second thing is the offer. So a mistake here is overcomplicating the offer. So this can be fancy designs or adding way more copy that is needed. And to us, when we've tested this has never improved the results. Just simple copy, simple designs have always outperformed the more fancier, cleverer options when it comes to this. So keeping it simple seems to be the best. That is not to say that it's always going to be the best, but it is a straightforward ask. You have a customer who can easily understand what they're getting into. And that's a beautiful thing. So instead of making things complicated, just use one single font, maximum 2 font sizes, and one clear image if necessary. And usually it's a good thing to have an image because it can stop that attention and help people process it a little bit. And there's typically no extra persuasion necessary. You have your one pointer. This is what you're going to get. You don't have to stack it. You don't really have space to stack it either. If you think of like a mobile device and how small things can be on a mobile device when you're looking at it. So there's very little of that needed. So that's mistake number 2. So we have triggering the email pop-up way too soon as mistake number 1. And then mistake number 2 is just like overcomplicating the offer. No, it's not understandable what the user gets. And then finally we have mistake number 3, which is not testing the offer. So there's the saying that the offer is king. And it is, in this kind of case, more important than anything else. You have what they're going to give for what benefit. That's the center thing with everything when it comes to this exchange. And so you should be able to understand and test if you are getting different results from, say, 5% off compared to 10% off. Does that make a difference? If it doesn't, why are you running a 10% off pop-up? That's an assumption that you probably just got from some guru and didn't make any difference for you. Then you can also think like, should you have $1 off instead of like the percentage? So should it be like $20 off instead of minus 20%, for example? So there's a lot of options here. But even beyond these discounts, you can test raffles, for example. Give like a pair of sneakers every month in exchange for this. It might be a ton cheaper than your 10% off. And you can ideate with these different things. Like it could actually be a digital lead magnet as well. Like you don't necessarily have to give up anything of physical value or like a monetary value there. And if you come up with a great lead magnet, you can actually make that an asset in your company. Because now you are getting customer leads that you can then email market to with this lead magnet. It's a beautiful thing. You don't see that much of it in e-commerce, but mostly I think it's more because merchants have been too lazy about it and dismissed the idea too soon rather than it not working. So you can test a lot of different things here. And I would say lastly, like if you have your e-commerce funnel, this is a major part of your funnel. This is the top of the funnel part for your funnel. And like you are looking to get them into a welcome flow. And the welcome flow will like do a lot of selling for you. However, if you don't optimize the first part of getting them to the welcome flow, you are either getting them to the welcome flow with an offer that is too expensive for you. It's not as worthwhile for you as a merchant. You're giving up margin, or you are just basically buying the list in a way that is not profitable. Or you are getting them in there with inefficiency. So you're not getting them as much in there as possible. Or lastly, and like least importantly in this kind of case, you are getting them in with the wrong mindset. So these kinds of discounts generally perform worse than the others, because then like you have this idea that I just bought it because of the discount. So you can consider all of these angles when optimizing your email pops. It is a specific thing and it depends on so many different things. You have different product lines, you have different average order values, and then you can formulate different kinds of offers to different target audiences, of course. So a lot here to cover. However, this was just like the initial summary. We will go over this and other optimization topics on this channel. So if you like this video, make sure to like it and subscribe for this kind of content. It will make you more money if you apply it. Promise that. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next time. Cheers.